Football Queensland's coverage of the 2019 NPL, NPLW and FQPL season is brought to you by Play Football. Join the team today. Visit playfootball.com.au to find your nearest club. Football Foundation, making football more accessible for every income, every gender, every ability, every background, every Indigenous Queenslander. Donate today.
Welcome to the Croatian Sports Centre here at Carrara on the Gold Coast. Really hotly anticipated match, this one in the final round of the National Premier League's Queensland season. It's Gold Coast Knights taking on Olympic. Could be a precursor to the finals. It could even be a precursor to what we might see in the grand final. You never know what might happen over the next couple of weeks. I'm Simon Smale, and I am up here high above the field here at the Croatian Sports Centre, ready to call all the action. Just a quick reminder, just because the outdoor football season is almost over, it doesn't mean that you have to stop playing football. Futsal is perfect for keeping fit and improving your technical skills come season's end. Keep your outdoor team together and play futsal during the off-season. Visit playfutsalqld.com.au to find out more. Of course, this hotly anticipated match wouldn't be possible without the sponsors. Gold Coast Knights, they'd like to be sponsored by the Surf City Cup. We'll give you more details about the Surf City Cup throughout the broadcast, but visit www.surfcitycup.com.au, that's all one word, to get your tickets for tomorrow's big game between Brisbane Roar and Newcastle here, 4 o'clock kickoff. Olympic, on the other hand, sticking with tradition, and they would like to thank the Coffee Club. Today's Total Tools officials, I've got listed Adam Kersey, Ashley Beecham and Daniel Olsen. Just a quick run through the teams while we have your attention before the game kicks off. For the home side, Gold Coast Knights, Josh Langdon will be in goal, the youngster who has come through the system down here on the coast. In front of him will be number 3, Oscar Dillon, number 4, Daniel Morton, number 8, Matt Smith, number 10, Max Brown, number 13, Jared Carl, number 15, Shannon Brady, 16, Mitch Nichols, 17, Nick Panetta, number 23, Matt Schmidt, number 26, Luke Austin. Gold Coast Knights are in the white, the all white with the blue socks, and they will be kicking things off from left to right as you see things. And as they do that, we will run you through the teams as Mitch Nichols gets us underway. Olympic FC without Ben Khan, who's in Korea doing his A licence, another week of his A licence, so they'll be taken charge by Jim Galasotis. And in goal for Olympic is number 1, Dakota Sprang, as Nichols gets to the byline, and it is Sprang who takes the early opportunity to get his hands on the ball, and a comfortable one for him as Mitch Nichols limps back into the attacking line after getting to the byline there. Interesting to see how the 30-year-old responds to that. We'll keep our eye on that as we progress over the course of the evening. In front of Dakota Sprangs, number 4, Christian Waters, number 10, Alex Smith, number 13, Procida Padial, number 14, Eric Panzer, number 16, Theo Cambanis, number 17, Daniel Driver, number 18, Diane Baker, number 20, Charles Slaney, number 22, James Kumineo, and number 32, Angus Huang. If those are names that you're not particularly familiar with, then you won't be the only ones. It's a much changed Olympic side following the pattern that has been in place since the 2-0 defeat against Lions, but effectively ended Olympics' hopes of winning a premiership. They've instead put all their eggs in the cup and championship basket. The cup campaign unfortunately fell flat against Adelaide United, although they certainly put up a good account of themselves, did Olympic there at Perry Park a couple of weeks ago, losing out 3-2 to the A-League side. And Ben Khan has chosen to rest a number of his stars after what has been a long season. This is the 28th game Olympic have played in the league this season. Smith, not best control from him, and he gets dispossessed by Mitch Nichols, two of the A-League players that make up over 400 A-League appearances of players in this side. The majority of them, of course, playing for Knights. Matt Smith, of course, will need no introduction to football fans in Queensland. Mitch Nichols, we've already mentioned a couple of times. Shannon Brady wearing the number 15 shirt on this near side of the field. Sprang loops that one forward. Oscar Dillon holds his head, and I think it was Kristen Waters playing up front. Today, he's only scored 2 goals so far this season, although the majority of those games have been played at centre-back. He is a pretty decent goal scorer, to be honest, so a change of approach by Ben Khan's side and just perhaps showing another option that they do have. Former Wynnum Wolf. His goals came against Sunshine Coast and Brisbane City earlier this season. You'd expect a team that is packed full of A-League players. Brady hooks that one back across, and it's helped out by Panzer, the Kiwi. Here's Alex Smith. Good work from Brady. He's got pace to burn, as have a lot of these Gold Coast Knights. Although there are a couple of players missing. No Sam Smith, he's suspended. And no Jaden Prasad either, a really exciting player who we enjoy watching play. He's actually out with a broken finger, so I've been told he will be fit for the finals, as Kristen Waters adopts a rather bemused expression across his face, having been penalised for that particular infringement. Luke Austin, the party, who is now feeling his shins and walking away rather gingerly from a confrontation, but I dare say won't be the first between Waters and one of the Gold Coast Knights centre-backs or members of the defensive line. And here is the most famous one, Matt Smith, 3-time capped Socceroo. Played over 100 games for the Roar, won 3 championships and 2 premierships with the Lang Park side. Good football here for Austin. He has time to pick his spot. He can't get it past Eric Panzer though. And Panzer concedes a throw-in. Entertaining game in the under-20s before this match. 2-2 the score finished. Really high-octane football. A lot of feeling out there, and it might be the case here, although with Olympic resting so many of their stars, there's no Chris Lucas, of course, no Costa Psaris, no Jez Lofthouse, no Steve White, no Yor Scholl, no Shelford Dias. Cross comes in again. It's headed clear by a combination of Olympic defenders. Nichols will twist it back in, and it's Kyle who rose highest. He's wearing the captain's armband today. He couldn't keep that one down. An early shot across the bows for the Gold Coast Knights, and Olympic will be wise to be alert to that threat, although what they do about it, we'll have to wait and see. Waters patrolling as a solitary striker. Won't be able to match physicality with Kyle, which, in the interest of keeping 11 men on the pitch, might be for the best. Waters' presence causing an injury there. We'll have to have a look at that, because I think it's Matt Smith who's down. This is going to be a bit of a worry for Gray Piddock and his side. Gretcher's been invited on in the reverse fixture all the way back in round 15. Gold Coast Knights lost Jaden Walker to a shoulder injury. Looked like it could have been a broken collarbone at the time as well, and the way Matt Smith fell here, well, you do fear for worst. It's just being checked on there by Matt Schmidt, who I believe was in the jumping contest along with Kristen Waters. Kristen Waters didn't do anything wrong. In fact, Kristen Waters just stood there and the Knights flew to get apart. But this is a worry for Gray Piddock, so close to the finals. Gold Coast Knights currently in second spot. They can't finish any lower than third, and it makes no difference regardless. Their opponents in the semi-finals will be Peninsula Power, who looked almost unbeatable earlier on this season, although they have come up against an opponent that has managed to beat them twice this season. Both down here on the Gold Coast. Gold Coast Knights scoring 4 goals on both occasions in the FFA Cup 6th qualification round and round 21 of the National Premier League's Queensland competition. And Mitch Nichols has scored goals in both of those matches. The Knights get things back underway, and they are down to 10 at the moment, although Nichols looks like he may be okay to continue. And that'll be a sigh of relief to all Gold Coast Knights fans. Oscar Dillon going to give Smith an early touch. Nice for Schmidt. Here's an opportunity for Mitch Nichols, uses his body well. Herring into the box is Max Brown. Nichols forced to check back though and goes to Schmidt. Schmidt all the way back to Matt Smith. Smith to Dillon, and Dillon be wise to play on Luke Austin. Olympic are covering across though. And that did come off a Knight last, and it was in fact Shannon Brady, 19-year-old. Incredibly, he's played 15 times for Brisbane Roar since 2014-15 season. He made his first appearance, so a real prodigy. James Kumineo scored his only goal of the season for Olympic down on the Gold Coast at Talabudgera. That was Padial who gave the ball away. Brown wide to Nichols. Good ball, good head-up play from Max Brown there. Nichols is going to cross it in towards Brown again, although it can't beat the header of Theo Cambanis, who's making his starting debut today in the dark blue of Olympic. We have an early corner. Pressure already mounting from the home side. Played into the middle, and that's a curling effort from Kyle. We did have Matt Smith arriving very late, looking threatening. He hasn't scored in any of his 6 appearances for the Gold Coast Knights as of yet. And it's fair to say he wasn't prolific when he was in the A-League for the Roar. Just 5 goals in his 113 A-League matches in the orange of Brisbane Roar for Matt Smith. Nevertheless, he might have fancied that one, but deferred to his captain. Could only play the ball wide. It's interesting to note, with Olympic leaving so many of their talented players on the bench, despite being top scorers so far this season with 83, they've only got 24 goals on the park in terms of the players who have played and have goals in the National Premier League Queensland so far this season. Max Brown and Jared Carr have 26 between them. That just shows the scale of the challenge that Olympic have to face here. But here's an opportunity perhaps for Dayan Baker. Baker gets dispossessed, and Knights work it to their advantage here. Brady has space to operate in front of Kumineo. Twists and turns to get the better of Kumineo. Panzer deflects the cross away, and it'll be a throw-in, will it? Yes. Cressida Padial, who looked slightly overawed on his starting debut against Brisbane Strikers, that 4-1 defeat ahead of the Adelaide FFA Cup game. Started fairly brightly here, albeit with limited effect so far. Having said that, we are only 11 minutes into this game. Plenty of time yet to go. Smith. There's 2 Knights over on that far side. One of them is Mitch Nichols. Schmidt's going to go all the way back to Smith. Nichols first time back to Schmidt. Nichols, the 2 playing amongst themselves at the moment. Kyle's made a little darting run, as has Max Brown. Now Brown's in the way. And Daniel Driver, apologies, just picks off the errant pass. Driver wants support. He could have it with Diane Baker. Instead, he goes back to Alex Smith. It was a wise choice. Olympic retained possession. Kumineo, Smith, back to Kumineo. Kumineo is going to be forced back to Panzer. He's had an incredibly exciting career so far, has Eric Panzer. 26-year-old from Nelson in New Zealand. Played all over the place with the Quinnipiac University Bobcats. Played 4 years over there in the States. Won a couple of premierships, 3 in fact, in those 4 seasons. Then went to the UK, played with Derry City in a couple of friendlies in the League of Ireland. The Northern Ireland club in the League of Ireland. It's a complicated situation. Truro City was his next port of call in Cornwall, not known as a footballing hotbed, and thus it proved. For a younger Eric Panzer, he made his way over to Sweden, to Nordvänlands, the Division 2 over there, before returning to his homeland with Team Wellington and Southern United. He's now, of course, here with Olympic, just to bolster a defence that has conceded 39 goals so far this season, which is one of the worst in those top 4. Brady can't keep that ball in. And then Max Brown makes James Kumineo have to work for that one. He's going to have to work to try and find some space as well here, but Pandial delivers some space, and that's a good touch from Pandial. Inside to Alex Smith, and Alex Smith is going to go on a bit of a run against Mitch Nichols. Tried to release Pandial on the return ball, but a little bit too far ahead of him. Nichols was bearing down on Alex Smith. And something that I've certainly noticed while watching Mitch Nichols so far this season is just how high his work rate is. Doesn't matter whether he's playing in the National Premier Leagues or even in the A-League. Brady is pinged for an offside call. Looked tight, but the correct decision by the assistant on this near side. Here's Cambanis. Neat from Cambanis on his starting debut. Got himself into a little bit spot of bother there with Nick Panetta. Nick Panetta, who scored against Pride, just his 6th goal of the season, and ended a 10-game goalless run for the former Gold Coast City player. And he looks so much more assured on the ball than he did at Perry Park a fortnight ago. It's good to see. Panzer and Kumineo get their wires a little bit crossed. Olympic getting into the game, and that's a dangerous throw for Waters. Waters on the hit. It was always going wide. His eyes would have lit up the normal centre-back. It's going across him. He did well to intercept the throw-in, and Gold Coast Knights will have to be alert to that kind of threat. While we get things back underway, Football Queensland is excited to announce the launch of a new referee website. It's a comprehensive online resource for referees across Queensland, indeed anywhere. The FQ referee website has been developed to assist match officials at all skill levels. As Olympic attempts the press here to try and peg the Knights in, and they've done well to work it out, but it's good work there from Baker. Pandial releases that pressure valve, and Knights do well to switch play over to the far side and Smith. As I was saying, it's a good opportunity for match officials of all skill levels and qualifications to grow their understanding of the game and progress through refereeing pathways in the state. So check it out, fqreferees.com.au, as Jared Kyle makes a little run out to this near corner. We put a cross in early towards Shannon Brady, and Pandial goes down under the attentions of Austin, but with little assistance. Nick Austin is pleading his case, as are some of the supporters down beneath us. We are incredibly high here at the Croatian Sports Ground. It's a fantastic place to view football from. Probably matched only by the viewing platform at East Heath Park so far this season that I've commentated at. It really is absolutely ideal, but on a night when the wind is beginning to blow a little bit, it can get chilly for our double take support team up here. Hopefully the football will keep us warm and entertained. 16 and 3/4 minutes gone. It is Gold Coast Knights 0, Olympic 0. Plenty of other massive games happening in this final round of National Premier League Queensland action. And two teams could indeed fight for their very survival in the top flight of this state. Charles Slaney does well initially. Did the ball go out? The Olympic bench certainly seemed to think so. It's not, according to our assistants. Mitch Nichols was closed down quickly and very ably by Dayan Baker, and Baker has turned defence into attack instantly, and here comes the youngster. 16 years and 264 days old. Crisada Padial. He's twisting and turning Luke Austin inside out as he goes. He just attempted once too many, and then, much to the joy of the supporters here, Luke Austin used his strength to bully the youngster off the ball totally fairly. And the chance goes begging. I'm sure, despite him only being 16 years of age, Padial, he'll be getting plenty of advice from the crowd here at Gold Coast Knights. And I'm sure he'll be thankful for it when he's a hardened veteran, such as some of his teammates. As I was mentioning, a couple of really, really big games going on around the state, and there have been goals in all of them. South West Queensland Thunder and Sunshine Coast are down as Dakota Sprang does well to clear that ball off the feet of Shannon Brady. Two big games in terms of relegation. Top four is all decided, of course, and has been for quite some time. Only positions that can change are Knights could potentially be leapfrogged by Peninsula Power, should Power beat Moreton Bay United up there at Water Park, which they are doing at the moment, approaching half-time there. It is Power leading by 1-0 against Moreton Bay. It was Dean Briggs midway through that first half. Western Pride and the Magpies Crusaders, they are the two teams that are still threatened with relegation. And Western Pride at Perry Park took the lead through Flavin against Brisbane Strikers. Mayer equalised just 5 minutes later. Brown chips the ball over the top towards Mitch Nichols, and Nichols did not want it played there at all and made sure that Max Brown knew all about it. So a point for Western Pride will be enough, because the goal difference is not in the Magpies Crusaders' favour, despite them occupying 12th spot as it happens. They take on the Brisbane Roar Youth out at Ipswich at Eric Evans Oval at 7 o'clock. We'll keep you updated with all the goals as they go in around the grounds. South West Queensland Thunder already relegated. South West Queensland Thunder, well, they're trailing Brisbane City by 2-0 already, the 11th and 12th minute at Corporate Travel Management Stadium. The goals going in there. It's quite important actually for all those teams from 6th down to 11th, because those positions could change dramatically. Only 3 points separating those teams, those 6 teams. That's Angus Huang, 20-year-old, gets a touch over on that far side of the field, and Mitch Nichols goes careering into the extended Olympic bench. 20 minutes and 40 seconds in, we are still goalless. Knights 0, Olympic 0. Ben Khan, if he's watching from Korea, will be fairly pleased with what he's seen so far, as Kristen Waters gets shrugged to the ground by Matt Smith. There's a size difference between the pair, but Matt Smith has plenty of guile and knowledge in the dark arts about him, and insinuating that there was anything illegal about what he did, but you don't often see Kristen Waters on his backside in a match. Olympic managing quite well at the moment without a number of their stars. Here's Alex Smith in a deep lying role, tries to get the ball up towards Waters early, still pinballing around there. between Baker and Driver, and here comes Alex Smith, suddenly in an advanced position. Gets the better of Nichols on that occasion. Neat little flick by Huang, already turns himself into trouble and has to use Driver. Driver tries to thread the needle, and he did thread the needle. Unfortunately, Kristen Waters had wandered the other side of the needlework. Olympic trying to create embroidery here in the final third, but instead it's a lovely move over on the far side of the field. Still going, and the shot is saved in the end. It was lovely football from Nick Panetta. He managed to turn in no space at all over on that far side of the field. And when it opened up for him, he thought, why not? And Dakota Sprang could only turn his admittedly less than full-blooded shot wide of the post, and it'll be a corner that's swept in right now towards Kyle, and it's just flashed across the face again. And Jared Kyle's concerned, the Olympic goal has been leading something of a charmed life in these early stages. It's very, very difficult at the moment for Olympic to deal with the threat of the Englishman. He did score the opener against Olympic in round 15. An incredible game, an extraordinary game of football. But Knights drew right at the death. In the 6th minute of injury time, Oscar Dillon scored the equalising goal in a 3-all thriller. Incredible game of football at Goodwin Park. One of the best I've seen all year, as Huang does to Panetta what he just did to him and wins a free kick to boot as well. So good work over on that far side. It was Charles Slaney who showed the fancy footwork. And Olympic have the free kick, which Cambanis will take. And Alex Smith popping up at centre-back now. Neat control from Padial. Alex Smith playing us a quarterback role. Some advice being imparted by Luke Austin towards Shannon Brady there. I will add a cursory if you're offended by the language, we apologise. Men's football's not the place for the faint-hearted. Matt Smith ends up on the ground again. Nichols tried to thread the needle towards Shannon Brady, who for once didn't have his skates on. And Sprang gratefully received that ball, perhaps lacking in angle somewhat from Nichols, although he did do well with what he had. Lovely cushioned header by Waters. Now that's an audacious effort, and Langdon did have to be alert. But I don't think Angus Huang will be earning himself too many favours from his teammates by shooting from that sort of range. Here's Austin. Padial did well to close him down. Waters did well to in turn close Oscar Dillon down. Fitness will actually play a role in Christian Waters' position up top. He's running around quite a bit trying to make those runs and close down the defenders when he has got the opposition. He's a big lad, Christian Waters, as you can see. Austin cuts back inside. Really good shadowing by Padial. Been impressed with him so far this match after a slightly underwhelming debut against Strikers, which we also called thanks to Football Queensland's policy of streaming every single match live this season in the National Premier League's Queensland. It's been a feast of football for fans of the game in the States and indeed around the world. Thank you for watching, and indeed thank you for getting in touch when you have been. It's been a real pleasure to read back some of those comments as Brady can't keep the ball in. It's been a great start for Shannon Brady. At risk of angering his passionate fan club, who will no doubt be thrilled to see that he is starting. Perhaps less thrilled with what they've seen so far. Smith looked towards the referee after being bundled out of that, contesting that header by Christian Waters. Nothing doing, says our Total Tools official, midway through the half, and It is still goalless, although it's not from want of trying by Gold Coast Knights. And here they come again. Nichols wants the ball on the edge of the penalty area. He gets it. He might take a chip over towards Shannon Brady. Shannon Brady, golden opportunity. He hasn't been great so far this half, but he does get the opening goal of this game. That's the way to tell your detractors to keep their mouths shut. Lovely take and finish from Shannon Brady. It's his 7th goal of the season. And Gold Coast Knights, it has been coming in truth, despite Olympic managing to get themselves into the game in the last 10 minutes or so. But Knights do have the lead, and it's Shannon Brady who scored it. Knights 1, Olympic 0. Shannon Brady's first goal in 3 games. He did play for Brisbane Roar at the start of the season and scored twice in just 3. And Knights have got the sense now. Here's Panetta. Kyle's effort was caught in 2 minds perhaps, or unaware of how close he was to the goal line. Olympic doing their best, and Alex Smith wins a free kick off the enthusiastic Nick Panetta. I think Panetta may get himself in a spot of bother here for throwing the ball back to Alex Smith in the manner that he did. The referee's chosen to let it go. There are no players, as far as I'm aware, on suspension risk for Gold Coast Knights ahead of the finals. Driver does well with a couple of flamboyant little touches to get away from Brown. Waters bundles his way past a couple of challenges, does well. Here's Baker. Dane Baker forced wide by some good defending from Smith. You'd expect no less. Smith and Schmidt combining. Still there for Olympic. How's that for a nice little nonchalant flick by Daniel Driver? Unfortunately, it didn't quite pay off, but can be accused of being slightly lackadaisical, can the former Raw youth product, Daniel Driver. Feel like we're taking fire up here in our commentary position. A ball from the training field behind us, currently populated by a mass of children kicking balls around. It's exactly what you want to see. Although when they're kicking balls at your admittedly spindly, although very secure legs of your commentary position, you do start to feel slightly threatened. Here's Panetta. Panetta puts a cross in. He did incredibly well to get that far. Fortunately, he was unable to get the better of any of the Olympic defenders, and they were massed back there in their own penalty area. And they'll be forced to defend once again as Nichols takes the ball at walking pace and starts to jog, looking, assessing his options. Morton. Austin's picked off. Adial did well there and just rode a little challenge as well, but didn't receive a return ball, wasn't quite alert to it. It's an interesting game that Ben Khan has been playing in resting his players ahead of the finals. Can totally understand it, but in the last 5 matches in the league, Olympic have won just 4 points. That was a win against Brisbane City. That win came with 3 goals in the final 10 minutes as Kyle plays in Schmidt. Here's an opportunity for Brady for his second. Nichols, there's a couple of deflections on its way through. I think the last one came off Shannon Brady. And perhaps Brady should have just pulled the trigger himself. Mitch Nichols just has a bit of a conversation with Jared Kyle, perhaps arranging for the next time they get the ball in that position for the movement to be slightly better. Smith took a touch half an inch inside the penalty area, so we'll retake the goal kick. A frustrating rule, if ever one has existed in football. This time Sprang goes long. Waters clearly got pushed off the ball there by Oscar Dillon and did nothing to disguise it. Smith will take the free kick. He's telling everyone to calm down, orchestrating where he wants everyone to be. This will certainly be aimed towards the head of Kristen Waters, you'd think. A looping ball towards Waters. Waters jumps highest. It's Huang, and it's plucked from underneath his own crossbar by Josh Langdon. Never had enough power from Angus Huang, but a player who scored 2 goals on his starting debut against the Magpies Crusaders, his only 2 goals in senior football thus far. He certainly knows how to hit the target, because that needed an intervention from Josh Langdon. He didn't just blast it over. It was good application from the youngster. Here's Austin. How's that for a tackle from Alex Smith? A wizened head amongst young flowers at the moment. Brown does well to intercept him though. It's Panzer, turns into a spot of bother but wins out. Turns into another spot of bother and then just leaves his mark on Max Brown. And it is a free kick to Gold Coast Knights. Threatening position, a promising position for the Knights to perhaps cause more problems for Olympic. They do lead by a 1-0. Austin leaves it for Nichols, although played it to Nichols, so Nichols could take it on the run. It's 2-on-2 in that corner, although they've left Luke Austin on his own. Austin back to Brady. Brady can go himself here. Brady twisting and turning, gets past one, can't get past Smith. Did it need a touch? It did need a touch from Dakota Sprang. He'd have been loath to be beaten at his near post, but that was a fiercely struck effort from Shannon Brady, who's hunting another goal here, ending his barren run. There's players going in all directions. I think the corner is going to be taken from this near sideline. We've had another ball being delivered over to this near sideline from the opposite corner. Swept in. Matt Smith still looking for his first Knights goal. It's headed away from him. Morton is fouled. He's quite clearly fouled, I'm afraid to say, for Olympic fans, by Diane Baker. And a free kick on the opposite side, from which Knights caused so many problems just a minute or so ago. 34 minutes gone. Knights 1, Olympic 0. Well, here's an opportunity perhaps. Just headed wide. Enough time to perhaps to remind you of the Aldi Mini Roos programme. It's for children aged between 4 and 9 years old, a 45-minute game-based session every week. And each child does receive an Aldi Mini Roos participant pack, which includes a boot bag, water bottle, football, and even a sticker sheet. Matt Smith gives away the free kick there, and he's questioning that decision quite vociferously. Here's Alex Smith. Caught flat-footed though was Kumineo, and Brady gets out of a spot of bother there. Matt Smith. Dylan Smith playing it amongst themselves at the moment. Good ball towards Kyle. Sprang had to come. He took Kyle out, but got more than enough of the ball to not make it a difficult decision for our referee. Schmidt lets out a cry of anguish, having turned but not taken the ball. His defensive partner Smith does well to thwart the progress of Kristen Waters, but here's Alex Smith. Inside to Baker. Baker's dispossessed. Waters, there's an appeal. Alex Smith with a snapshot. Langdon was scrambling and scrambled well. There were appeals flying around all over the place on the edge of that penalty area from those in white. Nothing doing, said our official. And Olympic nearly capitalised. It's still just 1-0. How's that for a ball from Austin all the way over to Max Brown. Brown gets the better of his marker there. Carl, too heavy a touch. It was well headed away by Charles Slaney. Really good header from the 20-year-old. His pass, though, leaves a little bit to be desired, and there's no chance of Paddy Al getting on the end of that. Nichols is being closed down by Huang. Austin. Nice, building their pressure again. Alex Smith, not quite on the same wavelength, but they've conspired. The oldest player in that Olympic lineup and the youngest conspire to win the ball back, and Panzer gives it back to Alex Smith. Nichols is going to put Smith under all sorts of pressure, but Smith is more than adept at dealing with it, but not once Nick Panetta gets involved. He gets support, though, from Daniel Driver, and eventually Olympic get the ball free. Ball from Driver to Paddy Al. Kumineo. Alex Smith. Smith will switch play to Slaney. Lovely ball, lovely control from Slaney as well. Driver. Baker. Waters, back to Baker. Baker's going to curl one! Oh, that was so close! Lovely football from Olympic in the final third. Christian Waters laying that ball off so deftly for Baker, who stroked it towards that far corner. Just missed the upright. That was your warning siren, Gold Coast Knights fans. You cannot write Olympic off. Even undermanned and understaffed as they are. Admittedly by choice. Here's Luke Austin. Brady. Brady inside to Brown. Brown turns out of danger and does so brilliantly. Morton. Austin had a heavy touch, but he makes it work for him and plays in Matt Smith over on the far side of the field. Nichols was backtracking. Instead it's Panetta. Panetta goes back to Schmidt. Schmidt to Smith, and Smith may well switch play back to Luke Austin. He'll do it via Oscar Dillon, though. Right idea, but wrong execution, particularly when Alex Smith was there, getting his long levers out to disrupt that pass and intercept. Good partnership between Driver and Alex Smith in that defensive holding midfield position. Smith being slightly more creative, and Alex Smith just having a little bit of a word with his opposite number, Max Brown, there. Cambanis. Not neatly done by Huang, but I don't think anyone expected it, not least Charles Slaney. He wins a free kick, though. That's a throw-in, apologies. Lovely flick from Driver, but a little bit too ambitious, and here's an opportunity for Panetta. Brady through the middle. Panetta's going to go himself. That's a really good tackle. It's fallen for Brown, though. It's blocked by Panzer. Nichols over to Brady this time, who still has space over on this near side of the penalty area. He'll use Austin. Austin goes past one. He'll breeze past another. He'll shoot with his left foot. Olympic will break. Here's Paddy Al. Paddy Al is bundled off the ball, and it was an intelligent foul to give away by Luke Austin. The sort of foul that sometimes you see more heavily penalised. It's one of those transition niggly fouls that we talk a lot about when we're referring to the top teams in the Premier League. It was an intelligent play, good footballing sense from Luke Austin to snuff out that counter-attack. They may still have work to do here, though, the home defence. Here's Driver. Cambanis to Smith. Closed down by Brown and Nichols, who both feinted and feigned to try and force a decision from Alex Smith. Panzer goes back to Sprang. All of a sudden, Olympic are under a little bit of pressure here, despite not having coughed up possession, and they do give away possession now. Will Knights pounce once more before the half-time break? Panetta inside to Morton. He'll go back to Smith. Smith to Dillon. Luke Austin. He was looking for Panetta instead. Slaney goes back to Sprang, and Sprang just about keeps it in. Slaney. Driver. Lovely play from Driver. Neat little bit of control from Panyal. Alex Smith. Driver wants it back. Smith will ignore him temporarily and go to Cambanis. Now it's at the feet of Driver, who gives it straight back to Cambanis. Patient from Olympic, but they're not really going anywhere, and neither are the gaps opening up ahead of them for which to exploit. Something needs to be done about these balls. It's the second time that a ball from the kids' games over on the other field has come onto the main field, and Panzer does well. Panzer is going to kick the ball away. Is he going to get a yellow card for it? He's not. You see, we'll give him for that, I have to admit. Knights do eventually get us back underway, and it's they who will try to probe and find a weakness in this massed Olympic defence. Every single player only 30 yards or so from goal. Nichols is going to try and fight his way through the maze. He can't get past Slaney, but Panetta might. Nichols has an option in Brown, but Alex Smith is there. Nichols is on the ground, I think more out of frustration than by ill means. And Olympic still need to be careful here. That was a good outlet ball, and that was intelligent, really intelligent by Angus Huang. And all of a sudden, Baker has released the youngster Padial. Padial needs support. Support is there. Here's Alex Smith. Alex Smith can let rip from here. Couldn't get it past Oscar Dillon though. It's a fierce shot that actually sent Oscar Dillon to the ground, and a free kick is given. A little bit of over-enthusiasm from Olympic. That was lovely football from the visitors. That's why we get play back underway. Don't forget, although the outdoor football season is almost over, it doesn't mean you have to stop playing and keep fit by playing futsal. Not only that, improve your technical skills as well. Get your outdoor team together and play futsal during the off-season. Visit playfutsalqld.com.au to find out more. Can the Knights find that extra goal before the half-time break? We've lost the scoreboard, so we'll have to just guess as to how much time there is remaining. You'll be able to see it at the top of your screens, though. Panetta, Brown helps it on to Brady. Brady lets fly. There was enough behind that to cause momentary concern on the Olympic bench, but Dakota Sprang knew it was always going wide and high at that too. So chance goes begging, but Shannon Brady, who I widely panned during the first 20 minutes of this game, managed to get the opening goal in the 27th minute of the match. Lovely bit of control in an area where he couldn't afford to not have good control. That's a lovely little bit of control from Kuminayo. It was helped on adeptly by Padial, unfortunately. Kuminayo's the Olympic left back couldn't continue his run fast enough, and Knights ended up snuffing out the challenge, and indeed that is all we're going to have for the half. An entertaining half of football. Knights do lead it thanks to that Shannon Brady goal. Before we do go to the half-time break, we'll just run you through a couple of the scores from around the grounds. There's some really, really important matches taking place in the National Premier League's Queensland. We'll go around the grounds. Moreton Bay versus Peninsula Power is still 1-1 now. Sorry, Moreton Bay have equalised against Peninsula Power just at the start of the second half. We're also into a second half at Perry Park, and as things stand, Western Pride are doing everything they can. They are drawing with Brisbane Strikers 1 each. It was 1-1 at the break as well. Brisbane City, their lead has been cut by half. It's now City 2, South West Queensland Thunder 1. Just approaching half-time there at Corporate Travel Management Stadium up in Newmarket. Eastern Suburbs 0, Redlands United 0. That game is just 15 minutes old at Heath Park. And the other really big game that's going on, Magpies Crusaders. There is no score in that game against the Raw Youth. Lions, the premiers, they're enjoying a premiership party at Lions Stadium over at Redlands, and they've already scored against bottom side Sunshine Coast. In fact, they scored after just 3 minutes. It is Lions 1, Sunshine Coast 0. That's the scoreline that we have here as well. Gold Coast Knights 1, Olympic 0. We'll have a short break while you watch these messages, and we'll be back for the second half of the Croatian Sports Centre here in Carrara.
Why do I play football?
Why do we play football? I play for fitness.
For competition.
Community spirit.
It's healthy and safe.
And fun.
I play for celebration.
What's your reason? Join our team.
Well, the Make Us Your Second Team campaign started at the start of this season. We're not asking people to come here and make Knights their number one team. Me personally, I'm an Arsenal fan. So for me to come down here to the Knights, I'm making Knights my second team.
I'm Sam Smith. Don't worry about making us your first team, but can you make us our second?
Hi, I'm Max Brown from Gold Coast Knights. I know we may not be your first team, but make us your second team.
Alinta Energy Geothermal is proud to announce its partnership with Gold Coast Knights for the 2019 NPL season. Alinta Energy is making Gold Coast Knights their first team.
swear a lot at Total Tools. We swear by our range. We swear by our service. And of course, we swear by our prices. So you'll know that you're buying at the best price every day. Total Tools. Every tool, every trade.
Welcome back to the Croatian Sports Centre, not the jungle, despite what you might hear. It's Gold Coast Knights leading Olympic by 1-0 after the first half. Shannon Brady with the 27th minute opener, one of a number of players with A-League experience. There's over 400 games worth of A-League experience on this pitch at the moment, shared amongst Alex Smith of Olympic and then Matt Smith of the Gold Coast Knights. Well, Shannon Brady and Mitch Nichols as well. Mitch Nichols, of course, played over 226 home day A-League games for the Brisbane Roar, Melbourne Victory, Perth Glory, Western Sydney Wanderers and Wellington. Newcastle, of course, who are indeed, Perth Glory, of course, sorry, who are here participating in the Surf City Cup. There's a good game here last night, over 2,000, I'm being told, to see the Brisbane Roar beat Perth by 1-0. Jai Ingham was the goal scorer, and fans who missed out on that one have an opportunity to go and see Brisbane Roar take on Newcastle tomorrow. Sunday 4 o'clock is when that match takes place. Go to www.surfcitycup.com.au for more information and indeed to get tickets. And then, if you're so inclined, Perth are taking on Newcastle on Tuesday at 6:30. Olympic get things back underway. If you're slightly confused by the sight of Kristen Waters taking the restart and then moving forward into an advanced position, well, that's because he is in fact playing up front in this match. So sorry, I was just got myself confused as a helicopter flies over us, so I'll just talk louder because that tends to be what I do. There has been a half-time change for Olympic. Well, certainly one that I've seen, and that's Billy Pavlou who's come onto the field. So that is a debut for Billy Pavlou, normally an under-18s player. He's been Olympic since he was an under-5. So it's a really good story for the Pavlou family. I know they're so heavily involved in Olympic football. It's a little bit of miscommunication between Matt Schmidt and Oscar Dillon results in the ball going out for a throw-in, and an opportunity for Angus Huang to get Billy Pavlou into the game early. And Pavlou, although being 18 years old, doesn't look it. It's a good moment for Olympic as a club. So Billy Pavlou is on. It'll be Charles Slaney who's made way. No, Slaney's still out there. I'll have a look and see who is no longer on the ground. But until that point, we'll keep things going. Scoreboard has given up the ghost, unfortunately, but I can tell you that the Knights are leading Olympic by 1-0. Of course, it won't matter to you guys watching on the stream anyway. So the shot comes in. That's a really good save. It was a fantastic shot. Fell so kindly on the edge of the penalty area. And Dakota Sprang had to be really, really alert to that. Otherwise, Max Brown would have been celebrating his 13th goal of the season. He scored 3 goals in his 2 previous games before the last match that Knights played, a 3-0 victory against Western Pride on Wednesday last. Panetta allowed too much opportunity there. Morton with the shot, it was blocked by Diane Baker. I'm still trying to work out which Olympic player has made way. Of course, it's Alex Smith. Alex Smith's not out there anymore. So, Jim Gelagotis in charge in the absence of Ben Khan, who's in Korea completing another stage of his A-League licence, has decided Alex Smith has had enough work for one day, the 33-year-old being rested for battles ahead. And that battle will indeed be against Lions up at AJ Kelly Park in the first semi-final. And it should be an absolute cracker, a repeat of last year's grand final. Lions won a thriller against Olympic in round 10 before rather more comfortably beating them in round 25. A goal in each half to either of the Haws in the side. Mitch and Henry both getting their names on the score sheet in that 2-0 victory in round 25, a match that in fact precipitated a fairly perilous run in which Olympic have only scored 4 points in their last 5 games, 1 win, 1 draw and 3 defeats, and throw in a 3-2 defeat to Adelaide United in the FA Cup as well. And you're starting to look at a pretty sad picture in terms of form, but Ben Khan has decided to ignore form and momentum and has instead decided to rest his players. He does have a fairly settled starting 11, and that starting 11 you'd think will be in prime form come next Saturday. So you cannot rule Olympic out of this one, and I think Warren Moon and everyone at Lions will be more than alert to that when they take on Olympic in the semi-final next week. All the broadcast information will be published on Football Queensland social media accounts. It's at Football QLD on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook is Football Queensland, as is YouTube. You could, of course, check out the website, footballqueensland.com.au. Fairly even start to this second half. Olympic don't appear to be missing too much with the absence of Alex Smith. More responsibility on the shoulders of Diane Baker and Daniel Driver. Daniel Driver in particular is slotted into that holding midfield role, it appears at first glance. Matt Smith assesses his options, chooses to go wide to Oscar Dillon, who scored that late equaliser in round 15 against Olympic. Fantastic equaliser it was too, to end a fantastic game. Austin to Nichols. Nichols to Smith. Combination that wouldn't look out of place at any A-League club. Certainly not a couple of years ago anyway. Schmidt grabs across field to Dillon. Austin gets to the byline. It's plucked out of the air by Sprang. And the Olympic spread themselves wide, and that is where Sprangs will go. Cambanis. Neat football from Cambanis to Huang. Huang inside towards Billy Pavlou. Pavlou does well, and Pavlou switches play brilliantly. That's good football from Billy Pavlou. Good start for the youngster, his first senior appearance. Cutting back inside. There is Padyal. And he's been lively as well, the 16-year-old. Lacking a little bit of firepower in the shot, though. Here's Panetta up the other end. Both teams starting to stretch out a little bit after a fairly cagey start to the second period. Brown keeps it in. Panetta. Schmidt. Kyle is lurking. He was lively early on, but drifted out of the game somewhat. Nichols has continued his run. Panetta chose to ignore it. Max Brown wanted to go inside, but under strict instructions from Mitch Nichols, decided to keep it in this forward left corner. Panetta and Schmidt linking up well. Really good football from Nichols. Oh dear, he slipped. Has the goalkeeper? He has. And Kyle has his goal. He was threatening all in the first half. He's only failed to score in one of his last 6 games. Move that statistic on a little bit. It's now he's just failed to score in one of his last 7. He has Gold Coast Knights second. It's his 15th goal of the season. And Knights lead Olympic by 2-0. Olympic had started that half fairly well, but didn't take too long for the cards to start falling back in Gold Coast Knights' favour. It was a fine jump from Jared Carl, unfortunate slip from Dakota Sprang. Lovely, lovely football, and once again Mitch Nichols just proving his footballing knowledge and how important he is to this team just by telling them to stay in that corner. He knew an opening would present itself. And Nostradamus like he was correct. And here is Nichols again. Such a key player for Gold Coast Knights. A Gold Coast Knights team full of stars and talented players, and he's tried the revenue to Panetta. It's worked out for him off Slaney. Panetta will go back to Nichols surely. Nichols back to Panetta. Panetta's going to go around the corner here against Billy Pavlou. The cross is there. That time Kyle didn't jump, and Daniel Driver tries to play the ball upfield. Padiel let the ball do the work, almost got caught out, and the Knights will eventually come back once again. Panzer's ball to Driver. Saw Driver caught out, and he claps his hands together in frustration. Nichols. The amount of space Nichols being afforded at the moment is quite alarming for those normally shorn in red and white. Kyle gets a fortuitous deflection, can't make the most of it though. It's just too far ahead of him. Waters looked to try and win the free kick off Danny Morton, who did put his hands on the back of the big Olympic striker, normally a defender of course. Nichols hops around on the spot as if to perhaps emphasise that Danny Morton could have done the same to avoid that pass. No harm done though. Oscar Lillen did end up with the ball, and Knights end up with the ball over on that far side of the field. Shannon Brady winning a throw-in. I was correct in my thoughts that the Shannon Brady Supporters Club were going to be pretty upset with the way I described his first half performance, or at least the first quarter of the match. He did score the opening goal though in the 27th minute, so a goal in each half for Knights has given them a 2-0 lead against Olympic, who on form at least, on the face of it, just in sheer numbers, are woefully lacking in form. That doesn't tell the whole or even half the story based on the personnel Olympic have played. Some of these young players have managed to step up though, in the absence of a number of their key counterparts. As Carl leaps highest again, is he going to get the fortuitous deflection off Kumineo? He doesn't, and Kumineo combines with Padial to get the ball upfield to Waters. Waters back to Baker. Works out for Baker to Padial. Padial's going to have to crab across field. Looked for an inside pass and it just wasn't there. And here comes Panetta now for Gold Coast Knights. Nichols has acres of space on this left-hand side. It's an early cross to Carl. It's all the way through to the back post, is it? The shot's going to come in from Brown. He didn't make the most of it, so Brady's going to chip it back inside. Kyle flew. It was Panetta, in fact, who made an attempt to get the ball into the back of the net, with whichever body part got there first. And Christian Waters is made to run and miss and bounce off a couple of Gold Coast Knights before the home side spring the trap over on the far side of the field. You may have seen what Luke Austin thought of that. So I think his frustrations really boil over is Luke Austin. High high-intensity style of football, and Nichols, who looked like he slightly rolled over on an ankle in the first moments of the match when he tried to cut back across from the byline, started limping, and he's just started limping again, and has just had a word with Matt Smith. To what end, I'm not sure, but he's looking down and walking quite gingerly with what I think might be a right ankle injury. He still wants the ball though, does Nichols, although seems less interested now, having wandered into the centre of the field. Still Brady goes all the way back to Dillon. Now Smith. Schmidt. Nichols seems fine now. Oh, it was a good, fiercely struck cross, and Max Brown didn't have any real chance of controlling that ball, so had to just hit it on sight. Sadly for him, he was unable to get the ball on target, because I'm not quite sure what Dakota Sprang was going to be able to do about it. Forcibly hit. And Sprang, having kicked the last goal kick out on the full, has decided to go short, but he's put under pressure immediately from Jared Kyle. And Matt Smith will continue that pressure despite the clearing ball. Brown rode for challenge, was not fouled, says our referee, was helped out by Danny Morton. Knights still have possession. Nichols at walking pace only. No matter how pacey or otherwise he is, he's still a threat. We've already seen him ghost past a couple of defenders. He injects some pace now. Lovely 1-2 with Brown. Gets to the byline. And I wonder if that's the injury, because it was a really weak effort of a cross. That was better. Aimed towards Carl. Waters is going to get the return pass. Waters won't have the pace. And indeed won't have the guile either. Almost worked out for him though. Smith rather lackadaisically managing to retain possession. He finds Nichols though. Nichols looks and spots that Carl run, but couldn't quite wrap his foot around the ball to deliver the package right into the path of Carl. Carl with a neat flick towards Brown. Brown on the overlap. Brown with the wayward shot. It's promising football from Gold Coast Knights, but at the end there's little reward for it. We need a new ball. Might be an opportune moment to mention the Football Queensland website. Get all your news from around the grounds. Of course, the most recent news being the Football Queensland Premier League Team of the Season being announced. And head to footballqueensland.com.au for all your news and the latest from the National Premier League, the National Premier League's Women's and Football Queensland Premier League, as well as all the community news as well. But another substitution for Olympic. It's Nichols goes inside to Brown. Nichols gets the return ball. Nichols is looking lively all of a sudden. Can't get the ball past Charles Slaney though. Here is the substitute, Kozai Stevenson, wearing the number 27 shirt. He's replaced Daniel Driver. Stevenson making his debut, 17 years old. He's been playing in the under-18s all year. Another talented youngster. He shadows Max Brown as he moves forward. Knights content to pass the ball between themselves over on that far side of the field. Oscar Dillon finds Matt Smith. Schmidt. Nichols. Moving much freer now. Wanted the return pass from Panetta. Panetta was held up pretty well by Slaney. Panetta still has possession. Brown. Wide to Austin. Brady's made a run inside him. It's a good cross in the end anyway, and Nichols has completely cleaned up one of the Olympic defenders. Can't quite see a number at the moment. Nichols isn't best pleased that play was stopped, though has gone on to check on his counterpart. It's Panzer, I think, who's down. Might have just caught the head, in which case the referee was more than wise to stop play immediately. And Panzer looks like he's okay to continue without any assistance from the bench. So Knights, leading as they are by 2-0. You think that if Olympic are going to get anything from this game, they're going to have to score next, and that's going to be easier said than done. They last conceded a goal 7 games ago against Southwest Queensland Thunder, that coming in a 2-1 win. 6 games without conceding now. They have won 7 in a row. As well, Gold Coast Knights, since 2-1 defeat in round 24 to Lions. Here at the Croatian Sports Centre, they've only conceded 4 all year. They've won their last 9 at home, all of them in clean sheets. And they've scored 22 goals in the process as well, among 30 that they've scored over the course of the season. That's gone up a couple in this game, and the statistics are updated. Nichols. Brady wanted the return pass. Nichols wants the return pass now. Panetta instead goes for glory himself, and it was ill-advised glory at that. Nichols did well to take Cambanis and try and pick his pocket, but it's worked out for Olympic as Baker has the ball. Padyal. Back to Diane Baker. Slaney. Slaney's forced back to Panzer. Panzer will go wide though to Kumineo. Panzer. Looks like it's fallen upon him to be playmaker in the absence of Smith. Kumineo goes back to Baker. No way through for the dark blue shirts of Olympic. Kumineo and Panzer again. Panzer goes long. Langdon had to come. Panzer has absolutely cleaned up a Knights player over on that far side of the field. Might be Shannon Brady, I think. He was going to get ball or man no matter what happened, and he ended up getting more man than anything else, and Shannon Brady's really feeling that. We're about to see our first substitution of the day for Gold Coast Knights, and I think Oscar Dillon has substituted himself. He's wandered over and taken the bib. Slight change in tack, I think, from Gray Piddock. Dillon off. Can't quite see who's come on, but they haven't gone into a centre-back role, that's for sure. Perhaps that will fall upon Luke Austin to join Matt Smith in defence. Here's Schmidt. Panetta is back. Schmidt, Panetta, lovely football from Knights. Cut back is brilliant. The goal is sensational. Matt Schmidt has his 3rd of the season. It's his 2nd goal of the year against Olympic for the Rockhampton-born former Raw Youth star. And Gold Coast Knights now have 3. And that was beautifully worked down the left-hand side. Sensational football from the home side. They're really rocking and rolling here now.
Goal forward to the Gold Coast Knights, scored by number 23, Matt Schmidt. Gold Coast Knights 3, Olympic FC 0.
Doesn't score many does Matt Schmidt. Goals against strikers. Olympic back in round 15. He scored Gold Coast Knights second, if you're interested, either side of Kyle's early opener and Oscar Dillon's late equaliser. None of the players who scored goals for Olympic in that game, incidentally, are on the field at the moment. The only player in the squad was Alex Smith, and he was substituted at half-time. Again, just outlining the challenge facing Olympic in this contest. That was lovely football, it really, really was. Panetta and Schmidt working so well on that near side of the field. Luke Austin looked like he's got a little bit of a limp there all of a sudden. Oh, he's moving a little bit freer now. Maybe not. Keep our eye on that one as well. Mitch Nichols appears to have shrugged off whatever was hampering him. Here he is on the ball now. Panetta, they've identified that left-hand side, or the right-hand side, sorry, of the Olympic defence as a weakness. Pudial probably could have jumped there and was unable to do so. Knights just toying with Olympic now like a cat toys with a mouse. On that occasion, the mouse bit back. Christian Waters just perhaps reminding Luke Austin of his injury, whatever it was. A little niggle perhaps. It was Ewan Thumb Davidson who came on for Gold Coast Knights, incidentally, the number 19. Player who's played the majority of his football in the under-20s this season. Austin has made Matt Schmidt run. He earned a reproachful glance as well from the former Raw star. Nichols telling Knights to play up tempo, but it's almost an unopposed training session of moment. How's that for a pass? Right onto the head of Ewan Thumb Davison. Glorious ball by Danny Morton. Moved it quickly, did Gold Coast Knights when the opportunity presented itself. Olympic have been attempting to play the ball out from the back and have got themselves into trouble on a couple of occasions. That time it was Matt Smith who's managed to steal in, and he's going to stay forward is Matt Smith. Nichols had to go back, couldn't release Panetta and apologises for that. And Matt Smith rather reluctantly gets back into the defensive line. Nichols admonishes himself and then gives chase. Sharp passing from Olympic, sees the danger out. And here's Kozai Stevenson. Padial. Padial's going to cut back inside. He's going to run into a spot of bother though in the form of Max Davison. Still there for Olympic though. Kumineo towards Waters, flicks it on to Pavlou. Pavlou flashes one across the face. What an introduction to senior football that would have been for the 18-year-old. Well, they've got a little bit too much of it on the follow through and hence rather hooked his shot. Knights in a rather departure from the norm and an unattractive one at that, decide to go long rather than the patient build-up play we've been used to seeing so far in this contest. And they were punished for it justifiably as well. Olympic stealing possession back instantly, and perhaps Olympic will play the ball forward now. There's a time and a place for long balls, but that wasn't it, I don't think. Nothing really on, but nothing on either for Theo Cambanis, and he goes back to his keeper, Sprang. Padial got dispossessed there, and the attack has been sprung. Carl's arriving at the back post. It was deflected over and behind, though, by Panzer. Chances coming thick and fast now for Gold Coast Knights. They already lead by 3. We're in the 73rd minute of the game. Corner worked short, but hammered away by Kumineo. Space on this near side for Matt Smith. He'll deliver a cross right onto the money, and Nichols was arriving first. Well, that was untidy by Schmidt. One for the blooper reel, perhaps. Lovely chest control there by Thumb Davison. But here comes Kristen Waters, bearing down on goal. It's not a great pass to Pavlu. Pavlu's going to have to cut it back. Still there, is it? The goal has been scored regardless. And it's Diane Baker, the 20-year-old from Cairns. It's just his 6th involvement in a match for Olympic. Only made his first start against Strikers. This is his 2nd start, and he's really grabbed the bull by the horns and pulled a goal back for Olympic.
Goals.
16 minutes remaining.
Number 27, Russell Stevenson. Gold Coast Knights 3, Olympic FC 1.
Fifteen minutes remaining in this game. You can't quite rule Olympic out. You never can. Neat football there. And Thumb Davison. Kyle was backtracking furiously. Panetta gets possession. Knights looking to restore their 3-goal cushion. And they'll be helped by wayward passes like that, allowing them to launch counter-attacks once again. Austin. Brady puts the afterburners on. And wins a corner for his trouble as well. There'll be frustration by Gray Piddock for allowing Gold Coast not allowing Olympic to get themselves back into the game, albeit still with a 2-goal deficit to overcome. That's the first goal conceded at home in their last 9 matches. Flintshire Power have beaten Moreton Bay United by 3-1. I can advise everybody as Kristen Waters heads that ball away, but it came back in, and it was Matt Smith who got that final touch on its way through towards Dakota Sprang. Kyle just nips and barks at Dakota Sprang as he attempts to launch that ball forward. There's Matt Smith again at the back. One other full-time score to give you as well. Strikers and Western Pride have drawn 1 each. It's now up to Magpies Crusaders. A point will be enough if Magpies Crusaders lose for Western Pride. Drama at the bottom, the sort of drama that can come, a morbid fascination perhaps with seeing a team drop down a division. That's a lovely pass by Schmidt towards Panetta. He's got more than enough pace to get there ahead of Huang, but Huang did well. Here's Nichols still though. Schmidt. It's going to be forced back to Smith. Schmidt has a lot of space all of a sudden. Nichols with a lovely flick to Kyle. Kyle's going to get to the byline. There's nobody there except for Shannon Brady, although he has his pocket picked immediately by James Kumineo, and what a vital intervention that was for Olympic. And to show the frustration of the team perhaps, Max Brown just went right through the back. We still haven't had a card in this game, incidentally, which hasn't always been the case in matches between Gold Coast Knights and, well, indeed anyone. Indeed any game in the National Premier League. Queensland very unlikely to remain cardless. But there's still time. That'll be Max Brown's last involvement. He has been replaced. Gray Piddock shuffles his pack a little bit and will be the last we see of Jared Kyle as well. He got his goal finally in the 53rd minute to give Knights a 2-goal advantage. They have since added to that. Luke Marsh is one of those players who's come onto the field, and here he is now. He'll head that ball on towards Brady, is it? Comfortably saved in the end by Dakota Sprang. Kaitapaldo is the other player who has come onto the field for Gold Coast Knights. Huang went up against Schmidt. Schmidt had to be good, and he was. Smith's also pretty good. He goes back to goalkeeper Josh Langdon. And Langdon strokes that ball over towards the far side of the field, where Thun Davidson gratefully received it. Kaitapaldo's first involvement is being fouled by Diane Baker. Knights build from this side. All of a sudden, Schmidt has so much space once again. His pass wasn't great. Huang played Slaney into a spot above us. Slaney managed to conspire to get that one through. Pavlu back to Slaney. Slaney does well to arrest the attentions of Nichols. Nichols hops and hobbles away back into position. That ball came forward towards Kristen Waters. And Waters, what's going on here? It is a penalty. Langdon was grabbing at Waters. It's a yellow card. I said there would be a yellow card before too long. Commentators curse once again. Not often the goalkeeper is shown the yellow card, though. That's indeed his first booking of the season. Not sure what else the referee was meant to do, though. He had a firm grip of Kristen Waters as Waters challenged for the ball. You can argue the legitimacy of Waters' challenge all you like. I don't think Langdon had got down to pick up the ball as of yet. But it is a penalty, but there are no real recognised penalty takers on the field for Olympic. Mitch Nichols is arguing the point, and I think it's a fair one as to how much of a challenge Kristen Waters is allowed to make, with Langdon backpedalling and indeed getting hold of the ball, albeit belatedly. So it's James Kumineo. His only previous goal of the season came in Talabudgera on the Gold Coast against United. And he just about scores his second goal of the season and Olympic second of the game here at the Croatian Sports Centre. Is this game on? 3-2 the score now. And there is just under 10 minutes remaining. I imagine Alex Smith, or indeed, when he's available, Chris Lucas is the normal penalty taker for Olympic. I think James Kumineo may well be slightly down in the pecking order, but he won't mind. Although appeared to walk rather reluctantly up to take the ball, but it's well and truly game on here. All of a sudden we have a contest. We saw 3-3 in the first game between these two sides. Surely Lightning can't strike twice. This game hasn't quite matched that one at Goodwin Park in round 15 for drama, but Olympic somewhat just crept up on this match. Two late goals, Diane Baker and James Kumineo. Gray Piddock will be desperate for that not to happen, and Olympic, oh, what a confidence boost that will be. Comfortable in possession Knights, but aren't making too much progress. Nichols will look to change that. Schmidt goes back to Smith though. Smith will go back to Nichols, and we're back to where we were a couple of seconds before. Nichols switches play though over to the far side and Austin. DiPaldo. Here's Smith again. There's fireworks going off somewhere. Will we see fireworks on the pitch in this final 8 minutes or so? Schmidt to Smith. Smith across to Austin. The assistant on this near side checks his watch. Knights appear happy to play for time. Olympic, and they could be chasing an equaliser, content to allow them. Morton. They're just edging forward, Knights, rather than charging. Nichols has made a little run. Schmidt may well find him. Instead, Schmidt goes all the way across to Austin. Now Smith. Edging ever so further forward. Tension is starting to build. What will Knights be able to do? They're trying to draw Olympic out. Olympic are not buying a ticket to this particular raffle. Can Austin prize open the 11 men of Olympic? No, he opts to pass the ball across to Smith. Smith to Nichols. Nick, of course, goes back to Austin. A passage of play for the purists, perhaps. It's been fairly staid over the last couple of minutes. It's exciting to note another player got involved in this little passing display. Austin. Marsh. Back to what? Morton. Now Austin again. Panetta. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Gold Coast Knights. Panetta goes round Huang. Panetta's going to race towards the edge of the penalty area. Snapshot comes in by Marsh. And Sprang gathers it before it goes out for a corner kick after the deflection. I think the deflection came from Freya Cambanis, who'll be feeling that one, you'd think. He hops away upfield. Olympic finally getting a sense of what the ball looks like after that draining spell of possession from Knights. It is back in the home side's possession though, the ball. And the pattern continues. Here's Austin. Olympic regather their shape. And Knights just move the ball around at the back again. Nichols, tired of that particular passage of play, has decided to inject some pace again. Panetta was stretching, and as such, Nichols couldn't regather the pass. Slaney attempted to get that ball past Panetta. Panetta stretching again, managed to stop it. And here he goes on his bike. Drops back to Austin. Schmidt is just checking out his laces on this near side. Nichols let the ball do the work, but almost got fooled by Billy Pavlou. Schmidt to Nichols. That passing continues, but in a much more advanced, more threatening position now. That wasn't a great pass, and all of a sudden, Olympic will look to spring the trap through Slaney. I'll start speaking in a minute. Baker just put his foot up there, and we're going to see a substitution once again, and it's going to be the youngster, the 16-year-old Rosario Padial, who's being better, much better today than he was on his debut against Strikers. 13-year-old heads off the field. And when I can confirm the number and the substitution, I'll let you know who has taken his place. It is Noah Humphreys who's on. Baker tried to get involved early. Humphreys is going to try and challenge now. He's going to continue the run on Langdon. If Langdon had any flashbacks from the previous incident, which resulted in the penalty, but was converted so expertly by James Kumineo. He showed none of it. And Kambanis goes all the way back to square one. Here's Panzer. Panzer switches play. Pavlu has enough time, didn't get the call. And the ball finds its way to the feet of Matt Schmidt. Now Matthew Smith will take his time. Luke Austin. Austin to Smith to Schmidt. Now surely Olympic will have to come out and challenge. The lone wolf is Diane Baker, who tried to leave one on Austin. Austin looks unimpressed and rather disinterested in that challenge. Baker again injects a little bit of pace. Movement occurs ahead of him. Among it, Shannon Brady. But Thom Davison couldn't make the most of the dummy by Brady, and it's out for a throw-in. It'll be in Knight's possession, though. And we are now approaching the final 60 seconds or so. Waters. There's two Knights around him. He gets past one of them. He gets past another. He cuts the ball back inside to avert the attentions from a third. Excellent football from the makeshift striker. Slaney checked his run. Gave the ball to Huang. Huang with the cross. Had it got over the top of Mitch Nichols, we could be talking about an equalising goal here. Instead, Knights scramble the ball clear. Here's Huang. Panzer. All of a sudden it's Olympic in possession, but there's a player down, and Olympic rather sportingly play the ball out, especially when it looked like just cramp. That was an incredibly sporting thing to do. A lot of players on their haunches, it has to be said. Is that Luke Austin over on that far side of the field in a rather advanced position? He has his arms out prostrate. So the physio attends to him. Enough time perhaps to just remind you about the new Football Queensland referee website. Football Queensland is excited to announce the launch of this new website. It's a comprehensive online resource for referees across Queensland. It's been developed to assist match officials of all skill levels and qualifications grow their understanding of the game and progress through refereeing pathways in the state. Visit fqreferees.com.au for more details. Can Olympic manage to steal an equaliser here? They've been second best for the majority of the night, but they have not given up, and it's confidence-boosting performance from this young side as Shannon Brady gets his skates on, plays the ball back inside to March. That's game over. There'll be no thoughts of a comeback anymore. Shannon Brady's pace, an excellent ball inside, and Luke Marsh comfortably slots the ball home. It's just his second goal of the season, second consecutive week that he has found the back of the net. The former Strikers junior playing in just his 18th match for Gold Coast Knights has really put the game to bed. It's Knights 4, Olympic 2, and time very much running out now for the visitors. It was a brave performance. That's in fact the last of the action that we'll see. A brave performance from a young and depleted Olympic side, but Gold Coast Knights just that little bit too good. They run out 4-2 winners here and will head into the first semi-final as the second place team behind the Premier's Lions. Lions will take on Olympic next week. It's a repeat of last year's grand final, and it is going to be an absolute cracker. Lions won both their contests this season, so do have the edge over Ben Khan's side, although the round 10 performance in particular was an absolute thriller, so I can't wait for that one. Gold Coast Knights versus Peninsula Power will be just as good a game. They split their matches in favour of Gold Coast Knights. They've won 2 of their matches and Peninsula Power just 1. Their most recent performance, Knights beating Peninsula Power by 4-0. We'll bring you some scores from elsewhere. We've already given you the full-time scores at Warton Bay. They lost to Peninsula Power by 3-1, and Strikers against Western Pride was 1-1. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news for Western Pride fans, but Magpies Crusaders have taken the lead against the Brisbane Roar Youth out in Ipswich at Eric Evans Oval. As things stand, it'll be Western Pride, premiers from 2 years ago, champions from just 2 years ago, who will be down and out. A couple of other scores from around the grounds. Eastern Suburbs leading Redlands United by 2-1. Brisbane City are thumping Southwest Queensland Thunder 5-1. The score there as time runs out in Newmarket. Lions are absolutely thrashing Sunshine Coast as well. It's 6-0 after 60 minutes there. We've already given you the Roar versus Magpies Crusaders score. Keep your eyes on footballqueensland.com.au and all the social media channels for updates as to when the semi-finals will be taking place and broadcast information. But for me, Simon Smale, it's been a pleasure to bring you this match once again. Brave effort from Olympic, who eventually went down to Gold Coast Knights by 4-2. Both teams will be in action next week in the semi-finals. We hope you'll join us then. This has been a double take production for Football Queensland, and we'll see you next week.